Thank our host, Frederick Bartley, who's in the back of the room. I want to thank Frederick for hosting us. I also want to always thank CTV for being here and being very supportive of our work. This really is an exciting day in terms of the work that we are doing. We have, we're going to hear from around safety and leadership development today. This is also a mentoring month, so it's pretty exciting that some of the nonprofits or the organizations that will be speaking today are really in mentoring and leadership of our girls, so this is very appropriate. So where are we? Think about this. We started this journey July the 19th. And through that journey, we have had monthly meetings. We have 7 months of monthly meetings where we've heard from subject matter experts. We've learned about our girls in terms of health, teen pregnancy, behavioral health, education, child welfare, housing insecurities, juvenile justice, agents of change, leadership, impact, and implicit bias. So we've heard a lot. We've also had three listening sessions, we've had many focus groups, and we've had our surveys. So this has all really been around the information gathering phase. And we made a commitment that you would be on this commission on a monthly basis, and I'm very excited, and soon we'll be moving to a quarterly basis, because that was the overall commitment. I also just want to, at this time, just recognize just the staff who has been working with the commission. I want to thank Pat. I want to thank our chairs, Fran and Fred, for their leadership, and I want to thank each of you for committing to this very important work. And lastly, as I sent an email to each of you, certainly want to keep Sister Clytemnestra Clark and Bishop Clark in our prayers. Their daughter that passed she was the delegate for Sister C, and so just continue to keep them in your prayers. And with that, I think we're going to have our first presentation, and we're going to have, excuse me, oh, no, it's those. Okay, now we'll turn the meeting over to the co-chairs. Pat's giving me orders here too.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Tyson, and Happy New Year to everyone. Welcome back. I want to echo Councilwoman Tyson's words. Thank you for your commitment to this process. I just want to draw your attention before we get to our first speaker, on that first page you have, if you flip it over, you will see the new meeting schedule. And in bold, you will see your next meeting. So that's March 21st, and then June 20th, and then September 19th and December 19th. Those are the absolute mandatory meetings we will have, but we kept the other dates there to keep them on your calendar, because as we review information, we might want to have a sub-meeting to bring in a second set of subject matter experts, or the same subject matter experts to kind of share a little more information. And that's because on January 31st, Councilwoman Tyson at least, will get the first draft report submitted to the commission from Thoughtwell. And it's happening on January 31st. As you know, our lead researcher, Dr. Butler, brought in a new beautiful baby boy, and so that derailed it by a couple of weeks. So we look forward to getting that.
Derailed it.
What did I say?
You said derailed.
It derailed it. Well, but we're in great time. And so I just want to share that with you. So keep that in mind and get those bold dates for sure on your calendar. The other thing I want to do, and I haven't done this yet, and I probably won't do it again, but I just wanted to take a pause and say something amazing that happened with the City of Columbus on December 29th. And that's through the generosity of the Columbus Foundation. They actually came up with something called the Big Explore. And what it was a program that the Columbus Foundation funded to make cultural institutions open for free to all, but especially those who can't afford the ticket prices. So institutions like COSI, the Art Museum, Franklin Conservatory, the Pizzuti Art Collection, the Wexner Center for the Arts, and a few other ones. So apologize if I, pardon me? Oh, of course, and the museum across the street, the National Veterans Memorial. Those doors were open for free, and I want to share with you record attendance at each and every one of those locations. Unbelievable. You'll hear more about that on January 22nd at the foundation, but just to put COSI's attendance in perspective, our largest day in the history of COSI was 12,000 people about 10 years ago when we had, a free community day, etc. We smashed that by having on December 29th, 20,740 people in this building.
Really?
It was unbelievable, and the best part about it is, and we have the data and the zip codes, these are people who definitely couldn't afford our typical price. And I'm talking about 90% of the attendance fit in that. And so it's allowing us to reflect as we think about this good work that you're leading, Councilwoman Tyson, just how does COSI, and I won't speak for the other institutions, how do we ensure that we really are truly accessible and open to all? I mean, we have a free Friday once a month for lower-income families. We do the traditional stuff, but clearly, when you have 20,000 people show up at your door, that means there's a lot of people that want to come and normally can't. And that's relevant to how we think of what we're going to do to impact these girls as we look to recommendations moving forward. So with that, I'd like to call our first guest speakers, Lashonda Coleman and Tanya Thurman from Zeta Phi Beta Sorority. Thank you very much for being here. We look forward to your presentation.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
I'm Lashonda Coleman again. I need the mic. Y'all can hear me? Or you can't hear me? I have a loud voice.
If you want to be recorded, you have to stick with it.
I have to. All right. Gotta stand behind the podium.
You can move it.
All right. I'm Lashonda Coleman. I am serving as one of the commissioners representing the National Panhellenic Council of Columbus. I'm a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Gamma Zeta Zeta Columbus Graduate Chapter. I also serve as the third vice president of the chapter, as well as one of the youth advisors and the undergraduate advisor for the Ohio State University's Gamma chapter.
Good evening. My name is Tanya Thurman. I'm also a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Gamma Zeta Zeta Chapter. I serve as our youth advisor and also our state youth coordinator for the state of Ohio.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Brandy Nicholson Burley, and I am a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Sigma Iota Zeta Chapter, which is in Reynoldsburg, Ohio, and I am the youth advisor for that chapter.
You can start. Oh, you go. Okay. Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated was the first to establish auxiliary groups in 1947. And so we currently have amici, which are women who have not completed a bachelor's degree, who still believe in the work that Zeta does in the community. So those are women 18 and over who maybe have a nursing degree or an associate's degree who have not received a bachelor's degree from an accredited institution. Then we have our Arcanettes, who are young ladies between the ages of 14 and 18, which we'll talk a lot about today. Our Amicettes, who are 19 to 13, and 9 to 13, and then our Purlettes, who are young girls who are under the age of 9, and that usually starts around the age of 4. And so I believe right now we are the only sorority, pretty much the only organization within the National Panhellenic Council who serve youth of that age, and also women who have not received their degree.
Our Arcanettes, like she said, they are high school age students. This is the structure of our program. So they have a $45 annual due fee that is waived if they are unable to afford that. That comes for the generosity of members of Zeta Phi Beta. So our chapter will sponsor a girl. They have, what's unique about this particular age group is they are youth-led. So they hold their own elections, they have their own youth board, and we teach them how to run their own business meetings using Robert Rules of Order. This is one of their typical inductions. They have inductions every year. As you can see that they are being inducted by their own. So we just stand there as advisors, and they conduct the entire program from beginning to end. These are the 4 strands. So about 5 years ago, Zeta as a nationals restructured the youth programs to make it more cohesive. So these are the 4 strands that each of our youth groups are participants of, and we focus on cultural awareness, leadership development, education in STEM, and community service. So anything we do with the girls must fall under one of those 4 strands. And these are some of the pictures from their community service events. They do bingo hosting at Summit's Trace Nursing Home. We also do a lot of meal hosting at Barnett Recreation Center, as well as the YMCA Family Shelter. So these are just examples of some of our current and past programs that we've done with them. We usually do an HBCU college tour every other year. We've gone to Howard, Clark Atlanta, and Spelman. We've also did a tour of Coca-Cola headquarters where they had the opportunity to meet with all of the senior leadership and do workshops as well. They also, with this particular group, they also get to attend our national, state, and regional conferences in which they have their own conference inside of our conference, and they get to focus and meet other Arcanettes from around the country. Also, we've toured museums, the Underground Railroad Center for Human Rights down in Atlanta, and the Holocaust Museum. Again, more examples of community service, bingo hosting, meal hosting, Toys for Tots, and holiday cheer. And some team building exercises we've done laser tag, trampoline park, corn maze, Dave and Buster's, Magic Mountain, amusement parks, hotel sleepovers, and pool party. And again, if the children are not able to afford this, this is fully funded by our sorority. And these are just some pictures of them in action. That was from some of our college tours. I'm sorry? Oh, okay. And this is some of our activities. And then this is when we actually were recognized by City Council for the youth that for the work we do in the community.
So as I mentioned, Gamma Zeta Zeta currently works with our Arcanettes, which Tanya just talked about. Sigma Iota Zeta works with our AMICATs, so I'll have Brandy come up and explain some of the things that they do.
Hello, everyone. So currently, SIZ is sponsoring the AMICATs, which are girls ages 9 to 13, with one who is turning 14 towards the end of this year. I just wanted to give a little bit of background for the girls that we have. Our girls reside in both the inner city and the suburbs. School districts of that the girls are a part of include Groveport Madison, Columbus City Schools, Reynoldsburg City Schools, and Pickerington Schools. The girls come from both blended families and single-parent households currently, and their parents are administrators, stylists, daycare owners, and among other professions. We do have induction ceremonies for the girls, and they follow similar formats like to the Arcanettes because the goal is to train them up to become Zetas. So they have monthly meetings, they have an elected e-board, and then we do learn Robert's Rules of Order during their time as AMICATs. Okay, the curriculum is the same, the 4 strands: cultural awareness and social skill enhancement, educational enrichment, leadership development, and community service. So some examples that we do with the AMICATs are we attend the Wildlife Center to learn more about the wildlife. As a part of cultural awareness, we go to different museums. And we also do community service with elder care, which our sorority also does. Key programming, we have an annual event called Finer Girls Rock, which is coming up this February 23rd, if anybody is interested, for girls who are preteen and teen age. And that program focuses on self-defense, self-esteem, and education. So it's like a holistic program for girls, and that is coming up February 23rd at Northside Library. So we were asked what the quality of life is for some of the girls, so I did want to share some of our girls coming from some of those single-parent households. that aren't as stable as the others in our group. So for example, we have one girl whose father came to the U.S. without her mother, so she is here with her father but not her mother. We have one girl whose father is currently in prison. So I just wanted to note that. I feel like our program is a safe space for these girls to come and attend away from whatever's going on in their home environment or school environment. We always talk about scholarship, but it's also like a place for them to discuss what's going on in those home lives. And I also wanted to explain as far as like things we can help like do for the community. For these young Black girls, really number one, they want to be listened to. So that's like the first step, I feel like, before implementing different programs, is they really need to be heard and need us to advocate for them. Number two is to, once we start getting these programs, maybe bring them more so on board to help implement. Number three, I think something that would be really beneficial to at least my group of girls is free venues where they can have their meetings. Currently, we're holding our meetings in Columbus Public Library, but it would be nice to switch up the venues for a chance and have like those public spaces. Number four, a challenge we're dealing with is budget constraints. So, we're a nonprofit organization, and in order to continue to fund these events for these girls, like, we need money. And same for their parents, like some of these parents don't always have the means to provide extracurricular activities, which are important to these girls. So right now, we will pay for them, like including the Amikettes and Arcanettes, to do things that they would like to do. But if we could have some monetary help as well to sponsor these girls in the community. Thank you so much for listening.
So another program that we want to bring to your attention that Gamma Zeta Zeta currently does is our From Girls to Pros program. Now, I have a disclaimer because myself and Tanya are not on the committee. So they sent us with notes that they wanted to make sure that we highlight. So I'm going to do my best to make sure that I hit everything. So our Girls to Pros program was founded in 2006. So the program consists of a 13-week development courses for the young girls. So these courses include 2 weeks of Charm School, which focuses on etiquette, community involvement, finance, and budgeting, and an IBM course for online safety. In addition to the courses is the Honor Thy Mother Dinner, which is something that I make sure that I attend because I really enjoy that particular event. But this event is held on the campus of The Ohio State University at the Union. And so this is the event that, let me get this straight, that these young ladies get to work with a world-renowned chef in an innovative, state-of-the-art instructional kitchen. And so what they're doing is they're preparing a 3-course meal for their mother to dine in during that day. So while they are in the kitchen cooking, their mother or mothers are actually participating in like an enrichment program across the hall with some of the members of our organization. So these young ladies are cooking their meal from scratch. So they have a salad, they are making their own croutons, they're making their own dressing. The dinner usually consists of chicken, mashed potatoes, some type of green, like a green bean, a vegetable, and then as well as dessert. So they make everything on their own. There's probably about 4 to a kitchen with maybe about 1 or 2 Zetas that are helping out. But this provides them with bonding, communication skills. We're there to assist, but they make that meal on their own. And some of these young ladies have never been in the kitchen, and it shows. So just hearing some of the things that they're saying, I mean, they're running around the kitchen trying to figure out what's what. They have the menu. The chefs are there to help them. The ingredients are already prepared. The recipe is already prepared, but they have to cook that meal on their own in order to serve to their mother. They set the table. They serve. So it's a great event. At the conclusion of the 13 weeks, they participate in a cotillion ball to where they learn, I believe the dance is the waltz. So they spend time, and you can see in the curriculum that they have practice in order for them to learn the waltz. And so this particular event is just for them to present themselves to the public so the public can see what they've been through throughout the 13 weeks. This starts in January, so the welcome reception will be at the end of this month. I believe it's the 29th. That's something that I usually go to welcome them and their families into the program, and they go all the way to May. And this happens every Sunday, which is another reason why I'm not on the committee. But I do attend some of the stuff. And so the participation fee is $250, but the committee wanted me to make sure that I stress to you guys, the program is $250, but we will not turn anyone away if their family cannot afford that $250. So if we have someone who was recommended, we have someone who really wants to participate in the program, we have sponsors in our chapter that will make sure that they have their $250 to participate in the program. And this is what the $250 pays for. So again, it is $250, but we will never turn away a 7th through 9th grader if they are really, really wanting to participate in the program because of the program objectives that we are striving to make sure that they have. So since the inception, in 2006, From Girls to Pearls has served over 240 young ladies of color in the greater Columbus community. And since 2010, And since 2010, From Girls to Pearls have given over $10,000 in college scholarships. So I want to read a quote from one of the former princesses, because we call them princesses once they join the program. The most valuable experience I have gotten from Girls to Pearls is meeting all the amazing women who have impacted my life. Without these women, I would not be who I am today. Another group that I want to make sure that we touch on is our undergraduates. These are women from 17 through 22. And so we think about once they get to college, they're fine. They're not. They have real life issues that they're dealing with. And so I know that they're still in the category or in the structure of that from what we're looking at. So we want to make sure that we highlight our undergraduates because we're doing a lot of things for them and they're still dealing with a lot of things as well. So these are some of the things that we make sure that we touch on with them to make sure that we get them through college, because once they get there and they're coming from all walks of life. And so a quote that I wanted to read from one of our undergraduates who just graduated, who is from Toledo, who was dealing with a lot of self-esteem issues, who was dealing with, trying to figure out what her sexual orientation is, who graduated. And so she says, Zeta, along with my advisors, gave me the creative freedom to market, build proposals, manage a budget, outreach and engagement activities, professional development, and so much more. Zeta taught me practical lessons that I wasn't taught growing up. I can literally call on any SOAR, and they will be willing to help me. When Zeta calls, someone truly does answer, and I am forever grateful for the strong women Zeta has connected me with. My involvement has taught me how to be the best version of myself. She graduated last year. She's currently working on her master's in social work at The Ohio State University. So she's graduating in 2020 to become a licensed social worker and begin the process to pursue her PhD in women's gender and sexuality studies to continue to be a professor, or to become a professor and continue the work that Zeta has taught her. So those are just a couple of the programs that we are involved in, but I wanted to make sure that we did highlight our undergraduates because I think they seem to get forgotten sometimes. Just because they made it to college really doesn't necessarily mean that they're still not struggling with a lot of things that our younger girls are struggling with too, because they are dealing with a lot. That's us. Am I 3 minutes up? Are we time for questions?
Is she going to answer the question, Pat?
Oh, okay. Do you want to go with the quality of life?
It's kind of echoing what Brandy was stating. We have a lot of programs. Oh,
Oh,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry.
We have a lot of great programs out there, not even just in Zeta, but in the city of Columbus that focuses on our young girls. And so the biggest thing is to continue to try to seek funding so we can actually hit the target audience that we need, not just for the suburban, but definitely those underprivileged who, for example, I have one girl who she literally broke down because she said, I'm experiencing so many firsts inside of your program. She has never been on an airplane until she got into our program. She has never been to Cedar Point until she got into our program. I just took her to Cheesecake Factory for the first time last week just to do like a checkup, and she is 17 years old. So that's one of the biggest things that we need is just to continue to try to have some funding that is not so restricted on what we can do, but just to let them experience life, even just some little pleasures.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your presentation. I'd like to open it up to the commissioners for any questions that they may have.
Sorry about that. So I was just, I don't think I quite understand the target when you say, like, how many folks go through a class? How many girls are we talking about?
From the girls, from Girls to
it-
Girls?
Yeah, and then how do you find them, where they come from?
So our target each class has been 20. We would like to reach 20, and that is usually 13-year-olds or in 8th grade. Now, if we do have some 7th graders or 9th graders that want to participate, they are welcome. We will never turn them away. Usually we have a lot of teachers or educators in our chapter who will reach out to certain people. If they know families within their schools, we'll reach out to them. A lot of our princesses come from recommendations from the members within our sorority or outside of our sorority. A lot of the sororities and fraternities know that we do this program, and we've been doing it since 2006. So a lot of them, as they come into contact with young ladies, they can recommend anybody that they want, and we will never turn it away. So, but our goal is to have at least 20 princesses move through the program per class. Does that answer that? Okay.
Program would be incredible for any girl.
Oh, yeah.
But it's only 20, it's not a lot.
No.
A lot of folks.
But I think one year we had maybe like 25. But if we go over that, the committee will let you know that we will serve however many we get. But the goal is to have at least 20.
Capacity, based upon funding to serve more girls.
Yes, because they meet at the union. And so all their meetings on Sunday is at the union, and then their ball is held at the McCoy Center. And then so we have, I believe the committee is about 10, 11 Zetas who serve on the committee, and then there's other Zetas that come in and help. So like I said, I go to the welcome reception. I always go to the Honor Thy Mother dinner. That's just one of the things I enjoy. But we have other sorors who come in from the chapter that don't particularly serve on that committee that will come in and help.
And in particular, about out of that 20, we help pay for about 13 out of the 20. And so at $250 a piece. So that's another issue.
And it's not just monetary, like we'll have some who can't get there. And so if we have to pick up, you know, we've talked to families if they need us to come and pick up or drop off, we're willing to do that. So, yeah.
Okay.
Are there any other questions from committee members? Great.
Can you tell us, like, what's your application and date? I know you said something starts in January.
So we'll have an informational, and that's usually at the beginning of December, end of December. What's coming up, January 29th, is the welcome reception. So that's everyone who has currently been accepted into this upcoming class. But you fill out the application during the informational. Usually they'll get recommendations. So if I recommend someone, that will go to the committee and they will contact that particular family and tell them to come to the informational. And if you come to the informational and you're interested, you can join. No matter what, if you can't pay, you will just talk to us about that.
Thank you.
One last quick question. First of all, I want to commend you on doing this program. You mentioned you were the first sorority to do this.
We are.
Are there other sororities that have similar kind of programs for young girls as well, or are you still the only ones that do it?
Well, we're the first to establish auxiliary groups within our organization. Okay. And so the auxiliary groups is the Arcanettes, the Amicettes, the Purlettes, and the Amici. Sure. Now, as far as this particular program, I'm not really sure if other sororities are doing something similar, but I know that this is pretty much the only program that I've seen in Columbus, and I know that other sororities and fraternities have sent their recommendations to us for this particular program because it's so long. So it's 13 weeks, and they do so much within those 13 weeks.
Got it. Well, great. Well, terrific. Thank you for doing that.
But they do have other youth groups. but I believe the fraternities and sororities are pretty much working with high schoolers. And so we're the only ones that work with the ones that below and have an adult group.
Great. Well, thank you very much for your
You're
presentation.
welcome.
Appreciate it. Co-Chair Fran Fraser to introduce the next speaker.
Oh, okay. So I just wanted to remind some of the commissioners who came in a little bit after we got started, is tonight we have two themes. One's on safety of our girls, and the other one is on leadership development. Just so you get a sense of why now is Sergeant Lindsay Ali getting up to speak to us about safety, because we've got two themes tonight. And just to let you know that we will be hearing from other sororities as well. And then a program in our community that is addressing issues with younger girls as well.
Yes.
Oh. You know what? Make sure that you've taken some time to look through the packet of information that you've received tonight. Our minutes are there, as well as PowerPoint presentations on the majority of our presenters tonight. Which, if you had looked through your packet, you would have seen it.
Right.
So do you look like a Greek? No. Right, I know that. Of somebody, right? Yeah, yeah.
We did not have. We had a bunch of white friends. I ain't joining the boys. But in general, I'm just African, man. I ain't Greek. What can I tell you? Now, but I have learned that absolutely they do a lot of good work. And I do respect
Yeah, very great work. But then you're in a number of different other kind of societies.
That's what I was going to say. You mean me personally?
Yeah, yeah.
What do you mean?
Like scientific societies. And We're gonna go out for a drink. Oh, and I told my grandson about meeting with you.
Let me tell you, when I read this
So we are definitely ready for you, Sergeant.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everybody. I'm Sergeant Lindsay Ali. I'm with the Columbus Division of Police. I've been on for about 11 years. I currently work second shift patrol on the northeast side, 6th Precinct. It's over by Easton, Agler, and Cassidy area. It's Officer Will James. He's going to be helping me tonight. He is with our recruiting unit. So I apologize for not being able to speak last month when I was originally on the schedule. I had to take my daughter to the Bahamas, unfortunately. It was so terrible to not be here. You know, I do, yeah, obviously, right? That's a very dangerous country. She had to compete in gymnastics down there, so I had to take her down there. So
Had to go.
I had to do her hair. Dad doesn't know how to do her hair, so. Anyway, okay, so
We'll get started. So obviously, some of the services that the police department offers is to protect and serve. So can you guys see that? It's really small, I apologize. So protection, we're obviously responding to victims of crimes. We're arresting and maintaining order by arresting offenders of violent and nonviolent crimes. And then also we do a lot of transportations of children to FCCS and to shelters and things like that. From a service standpoint, we have community liaison officers who go out to the elementary schools and do career days. They have Read with a Cop days in the elementary schools as well. I'm sorry. And then we have our recruiting department and some mentoring programs that we offer. So total interactions with Black girls in our age range of 11 to 21 in 2017 were 8,063. That sounds like a lot. Keep in mind that if we go out to a certain address more than once, that's going to be a separate interaction. So even if they call twice a day, that's a separate interaction from these numbers. So if you look at the packet, I kind of highlighted some of the ones that seem kind of, seem kind of crazy. So missing persons, 2,253. And again, that could be, the same 20 girls. Unfortunately, I don't have the breakdown. It's nearly impossible to get that information. Domestic disputes or domestic violence calls, 830. Let's see. Child endangering or neglect, 19. Kidnapping, 10. Stalking, 11. Suicide attempts are 75. I thought that was kind of high. Assaults, 1,185. And then menacing, 357. So like I said, I'm highlighting kind of some of the big ones there. So if we break it down, victims versus suspects, I listed out here Black, white, unknown, Asian, and Indian and Alaskan because those are the only categories that we can ask when we have someone in our custody for whatever reason. So victims in 2017 at the age of 11 for Black girls was 146, 106 for white. Let's see, it kind of reaches a peak at 17 with 894 for Black girls. That peak for white girls doesn't hit until the age of 20 when they have 660. So overall though, 5,592 Black girls 11 to 21 were victims in 2017 compared to 3,933 of white in the same age group. The unknowns I thought was important to leave up there just because a lot of times officers can't tell if someone is Black or not. I often get, called Puerto Rican or Hispanic or whatever. So if there's some situations where you don't want to ask, even though we are able to ask as officers. Some officers are uncomfortable doing so. So the 328 total victims as unknown are probably very often Black girls in those age ranges or some type of multi-race. As suspects, same thing, I broke it down the same way. We hit our peak again at the age of 19 here, and with 268, 159 in comparison to the white girls in the same age group. So again, overall total of 2,000 suspects in 2017, 947 comparatively. So in 2017, Black girls in the target range are 2 times more likely to be a victim than the other races and 1.5 times more likely to be a suspect. Yes, ma'am.
Can you give us or clarify for us the definition of suspect?
So a suspect, sure, is, did I turn that off just now? Can you hear me? Good, okay. So a suspect is anytime someone is the primary aggressor in a interaction. If I call and say that he's harassing me or I was beat up by somebody, anything like that, that's when you're a suspect. Does that clarify enough? Okay.
Thank you.
So that's not, so you're not arrested and found
Not
guilty.
necessarily arrested, but just
guilty.
being listed as a suspect. If I'm calling and making a report and it's not something that we would arrest for, we're going to refer you to a prosecutor. Somebody has to be defined as a victim and a suspect.
Gotcha.
Yes, ma'am.
Sergeant, do you want us to ask questions?
Oh, yeah, you're
now?
fine. Yep.
Okay, I'm just to make sure. So even going as the victims and suspects, and certainly you have to ask, well, why the disparity? 1.5 times more the victim, and I don't know, and then 2 times the aggressor, as opposed to white, unknown, and Asians, et cetera. And so, do you have any information that that illustrates just the why behind any of this as you guys are going out?
Unfortunately, that is very difficult to ascertain. We don't even track these numbers, so I had to go and, it was a lot of work to even get them to find a way to pull this stuff in our database. So, no, again, it could be the neighbor who doesn't like you that's calling and saying, something, and if they request a report, we have to take a report. So some of these numbers are, I'm sure, skewed just because it's not actually legit and it's not anything that could be prosecuted, but because it was a call for service and a report was generated or an interaction with the police was generated for whatever reason. And honestly, these numbers all come from some type of report. So there's some type of documentation out of an incident.
Schools, it could be schools, it could be just.
If the school is calling in, if it's, like I said, a neighbor, a coworker, anything, really. If I'm calling on my brother because he hit me, that's considered a domestic, technically, so. Thank you. You're welcome. So I did the same thing for 2018, and the peak in 2018 was at the age of 16 for our black girls, compared to the age of 20 for white girls as victims in 2018, but still kind of roughly the same numbers. There was 5,592 in 2017, and we're at 5,222 here in 2018. So it's gone down a little bit, but not significantly. And then again, comparatively for the white girls, from 3,933 down to 3,479. But we're still 1.5 times more likely to be a victim in 2018. Same thing here with suspects. Sorry, it's a lot of numbers. But I wanted to give more than 1 year's data for you. Still 1.5 times more likely to be a suspect. It seems I did not highlight the peak ages, but the age of 17 and then again at 20 were the highest numbers for the black girls, and looks like 20 and 21 for the white girls in 2018. Did you have a question? Oh, okay. So now we're looking at actual arrests that were made in 2017 versus 2018. So the first 2 columns are black versus white in 2017, and then the last 2 are black versus white for 2018. So it's not as huge of a gap, but this is total-wise, but this is broken down by age. So our black girls peak at the age, I can't see that, I'm sorry, at the age of 18 with 68 arrests, and then it just kind of goes up from there. And then white girls at the age of 18, looks like, 19, I'm sorry, with 52. And in 2018, 61 was our peak, and that was at the age of 20, and 65 for white girls of the same age group. So that's kind of like the everyday, day-to-day policing aspect of it. We'll talk about some of the mentoring that we do. Yes, ma'am.
Have any, is there reports about what they're being arrested for?
Yes, I don't know how I could actually pull that specifically by, it's, like I said, it's a lot of data, and so our police net department was not able to pull it specifically like that. I can try to get that for a future meeting, but I'm sorry.
Thank you.
So with the mentoring, we do the Teens and Police Service Academy, which is our TAPS program. That is a 10-week program for at-risk high school and middle school students. And honestly, we're geared more towards the middle school now, just because the studies have shown that once they hit high school, they've kind of have made their decisions on kind of who they're going to be. So officers work with small groups of students and discuss the issues affecting them at the time. We teach them how to have a positive interaction should they get pulled over. We talk about drugs and alcohol. We talk about sex and safe sex. And try to bridge that gap between the youth and police. Here's some pictures. I'm obviously involved in that program. And then we just try to increase the positive interactions that the teens have. And so if they see us on the street when they're, hanging out with their friends, they'll stop and say hi instead of, yelling 12 or whatever. And just trying to create leaders, even though they might not be, or their home lives might not be what we're used to, or, just trying to have a positive impact on them and be a role model for them when they might not have that in their daily life. That's just a nickname for police. That
We're old school. We used to 5-0 out here.
Sorry, that's the new 5-0. My husband asked me that the other day too.
I didn't know what it was either.
Everybody's looking like, well, what is that? Everybody else, we didn't know. I didn't know.
When the police come around, they tell you to put your hands up. So that's where that comes from. If you're on the clock.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the numbers of girls that we have served with the TAPS program, in 2015 is when we started at Independence High School, and there were 11 girls. 2017, Champion Middle School, there were 4, Dominion 5, Hiltonia, Johnson Park. We're starting this program next week with 2 new middle schools. So total minority girls served is 52 with the TAPS program. And then recruiting. You want to talk about the basketball boot camps a little bit? Or do you want me to just go?
I can talk about it.
Okay.
So I run the Columbus Police basketball team, and we've been playing since 2005. My academy class had a lot of basketball players in that class, and at the time when we were doing tournaments, we've gone out to the World Police and Fire Games, United States Police and Fire Games, and at the time when we started our team, my father was the head coach of South High School boys basketball team, and he said, hey, won't you come out and play basketball with the kids? And so that evolved into the program we have now, which we invite high school basketball teams out to our police academy. We have a full NBA-sized gym, and so what we'll do is we'll invite them out, do a leadership presentation on what leadership means and how being an athlete, you're looked at, you're put on a pedestal, and you automatically have that leadership, From there, we do some scenario-based training, which is primarily how officers train. So we put them in a situation to see how they're going to react. And some of these reactions have been priceless. One of these scenarios that we did do was they get a ride home from a new student. They don't know the student. They make the choice to hop in the car gets pulled over, and the kid asks them to hide a gun. And so we see how they will respond. Now, at this particular point, it wasn't for us to come in and judge, because these kids are coming from so many different backgrounds, situations, and everything else, but we wanted to know the why. Why did you make this decision? Did you feel you had enough time to make an alternate decision? And what did you feel when the cops pulled up on the car? So from there, we take them into the gym, we separate them, and then they'll do a combination of police training and basketball training. So they'll do drills in the gym, and then they'll get to go to our boxing room, box a little bit, and then after the workout is done, we'll sit down and have lunch with them, and they can ask any questions that they want. So, go ahead.
No, so just the discussion at lunch, we kind of modeled off of the sustained dialogue that they have at The Ohio State University, which we have both been involved in the past couple years, and we thought that was very impactful. So we try to hold the same type of dialogue with them, and it's been very enlightening, honestly, to be involved with that. Total minority girls served with this program in 2017 was 16, and in 2018 we had 32. So 2017, Eastmoor Academy was the only school that brought their girls team out, and then this past year, we had South, Lyndon McKinley, and Eastmoor again. Is there another girls' school? No.
Lyndon McKinley and Marion Franklin.
And Marion Franklin, yeah. So it's growing. Real quick, too, we also have a guest speaker come out and talk to the students with those basketball boot camps, and that one was Chief Kim Jacobs came to talk to the girls. We've had Clark Kellogg, we've had Terrence Dials, who was, Big Ten basketball player, former NFL athletes. So we try to find people that have gone through some hardship in their life and to come and talk to the kids, because it doesn't matter where they come from or, whatever situation they might be in at that time, but they can overcome that. Sorry, yeah, I'm not. If I still have time. Oh, sorry. So sorry. And Will can help me a little bit with this, but from a recruiting standpoint, in 2016, we had 445 females apply to be Columbus police officers. 77 of those ended up being eligible for hire, and 19 were appointed to the academy. So you can see that is a very large, a big gap, a big decline in how many can actually make it into the academy. In 2017, 426 females applied, and 61 were eligible for hire. And 2018, we had 111 female blacks specifically, because we were able to break it down this time. 99 of that passed the minimum standard. Only 39, I believe, showed up for the COPE, which is, for the whole civil service, got you. So yeah, only 39 actually showed up for the civil service testing, and then 5 were eligible for hire. So the question is the 111 that are interested, where are we losing them? Sure.
When they apply, when they would actually get appointed?
The first class that will be eligible for, so we'll have our next hiring period in July, and they'll be eligible for the next June class. So it takes roughly about a year.
I know, I mean, obviously that's part of the problem, is the length of the employment process. We also have our Columbus Police Explorer program, and this is for youth ages 14 to 20 with a desire to learn more about becoming a police officer. Currently, we only have 4 minority explorers in the program. There's 4 minority advisors. I believe I'm the only female black advisor in the program. They do scenario-based training at our academy. They come out twice a week. They do physical fitness, ride-alongs. They can participate in ride-alongs throughout the year, and they can also get school credit for those ride-alongs. And they compete in local and national competitions. So the bottom picture there is we went to Purdue University in July for the National Law Enforcement Exploring Competition, and they won an award for driving. And then just here's a few of the other ones. They march around and call cadence and everything just like they would if they were in the academy. We did an air pistol competition. So to answer the questions for the commission, our challenges are obviously we are involved in a lot of trauma interactions. There's a low quality of life for the majority of the girls that we come into contact with. Positive interactions are few and far between, and a lot of the girls have negative influences in their lives, so even if you can touch them for a moment, they go back to reality, and it's difficult, especially for a lot of the officers. When you come on, you are general relief, and so you're switching, you're working a different area depending on staffing needs. So that can be difficult. Transportation for minorities to get to our positive programs, like the boot camps and the Explorer program. And then getting more female black officers to mentor or participate in the programming that we offer. And then just overall distrust within the African American community with police. Some opportunities that we have is an increase of the women's basketball boot camps, an increased number of female officers that get involved, and increase the positive interactions with our black girls, hiring more female officers, obviously, and getting more promoted. So I think currently there are 5 female black sergeants on the department and 2 lieutenants of the almost 2,000 officers that we have on the department. There's only 2 male black lieutenants, and nobody above the rank of lieutenant is minority currently. Let's see, where did I leave off? And then also partnering with other organizations. The department has recently partnered with the Driven Foundation. They have come out and participated with some of the different aspects of recruit training and they've created a virtual reality. They have an Oculus, and they've created basically a presentation for inner city youth to take a look at what it's like to be in the academy using that virtual reality Oculus. And so that's one of the things that we're currently doing. So how can the community and the commission help? Is to support and encourage our young girls to learn more about the profession. Like the Explorer program, we do offer ride-alongs if you are 18? Yeah, 18 and over. And then career fairs, if you're having a career fair at the school or whatever business that you are involved with, get with us and our recruiting unit can come out and participate with that. And I think like someone said last meeting, you can't be what you can't see. So we have to let them know that, being a police officer is an opportunity for them. Also to support the TAPS Community Service Project with donations, ideas, or partnerships. Create partnerships and mentorships. And then just a few closing points is relationship creation is the foundation to building the trust necessary to have a positive impact on our black girls' lives. And we can only build that trust through positive interactions. And obviously it takes a village. So with this commission is wonderful foundation to that village, and I think we're making a lot of contacts to do a lot of good work. So thank you. Questions?
Now, questions? Who? Oh, Dr. Dixon.
Over here. I'm sorry. You shared some encounter data at the very beginning. I'm just curious who conducts any kind of data analyses of that information, because you said it was kind of hard to obtain, and I would think that would be pretty standard kind of information. And
I was surprised.
Yeah, and how is that data cut in terms of, is it cut by zip codes, cut by catchment area, and are those data used to help inform program decisions?
So I have no idea about the how it was cut. We have a IT department, which is our police net, and I sent an email and said we do have crime analysts. The crime analyst was unable to get the data that I was requesting specifically because it just wasn't broken down in that manner. I think that because of how we report stats to the state, that's just not, or to the federal, whoever, it's the little red asterisk is when I know it's getting reported. But however we are currently reporting data, it doesn't include this, broken down in that fashion. So she was unable to help me, and then so I had to contact our IT department. It took a couple weeks, and then I just had an email with some PDFs. So I'm sorry that I don't have that information, but I can try to find out.
And then to follow that up, our programming, essentially, we revamped our recruiting department just this past year. So I've been in there for a year, and now we're starting to use this data. So prior to that, the Explorers program wasn't a part of the recruiting program. The basketball boot camps were not a part of the recruiting program. This is stuff that officers seeked out to do on their own and create these opportunities for the youth.
Thank you.
The TAPS program is funded through the juvenile court system, though, so, and that's through the director's office, if that helps too.
Okay, there we go. So first off, thank you so much for presenting this additional look at the police department and what you have to offer our communities, and really helping us to see this kind of positive exchange. I do have a question about the girls arrested data between 2017 and 2018. I think one of the things that your data, and I guess it's a question and it's also a bit of just calling out an aspect of the data. And looking at the data, particularly in 2018, I think this data is really making the point that we discussed last week around the ability of Black girls to enjoy an actual childhood. And so I would be curious to have more information about what the arrest, the scenarios around the arrest, particularly when we're thinking about girls who are under the age of 18, and I'm looking at the data for white girls and how many of them are, how few arrests there are for white girls in comparison to Black girls. It really speaks to this idea that white girls are allowed to be girls and to make mistakes, and Black girls are moved into the criminal justice system more rapidly. So I guess the question in this is whether or not the police department is engaged in any type of intersectional race, gender, bias training, or development of understanding of gender, race performance of Black girls, and how to read Black girls' behaviors.
So I'm going to say no. We do go through implicit bias training every year. There's always those that don't want to be there. I'll just put it like that. And it's difficult because, you know, he and I have had conversations where that's the type of training that you need to have in small groups. And unfortunately, because of the size of our department and how much training we actually have to do every year from a like a required state standpoint, there's not enough time to have small groups. So you're looking at, and because I actually taught the implicit bias last year for in-service, and you're looking at groups of, I don't know, at least 100 or more in an auditorium, and you know, and you're just powering through the information, and so it's not having the needed effect that it should.
And I would just offer, I would imagine that implicit bias training for reading the behaviors of young girls is actually different than reading the behaviors of adults, or trappings around implicit bias that are attached to adulthood.
Absolutely.
So if there's anything in this commission, if there's work that we could help with in that area, this seems to be, I feel like we could spend hours with you in this conversation, and it would be time well spent, because
we do. I mean, we do have the option of doing like we kind of got into an online-based training. So if anybody, I mean, if you wanted to try to create a training, then I can take it to the department and see if they will roll it out. I think that would be very helpful.
And I wanted to follow up because I know that the last meeting we also talked about the adultification of our children. And that's one of the things when officers go out, they expect a certain type of reaction, especially officers who don't have children. You know, they're expecting kids to act a certain way. Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? So that's a part of it. And a lot of the implicit bias, I've been in those classrooms and I'm feeling uncomfortable for her because I can hear the comments and everything else. And it's a situation where a lot of our officers feel attacked. We don't know how to do our job. They're calling us all racist. And I hear those chatters as she's teaching, and it's bothersome.
Thank you.
Last month's meetings, as you recall, we had some discussion on implicit bias and from the article about the adultification of our Black girls. It was really important to gather this information, and I want to thank you for taking the time to really delve into finding the information to provide to us. When I reviewed this information, it was early this morning, I will tell you, it definitely brought tears to my eyes to see those numbers. And so again, you're seeing that is the disparity between our girls and other girls, and that it delves into the point that we do need to have more information. And I don't know how part of this commission is, again, we're gathering, and then we will then have to think about all what we have learned, and what do we want to do as a commission to gather additional data. What can we do to make sure that if we did not have this commission, we would not know this information. That's number one. And so now that we have information, it certainly behooves us to then think about, as a commission, how do we gather more? What do we need to do differently so that we can change the outcomes, help to change the outcomes for our girls. So I really do appreciate what all you've done and to gather this much, and that means we have more work to do.
So, Dr. Smooth, as you take notes on all the things you're going to be wanting us to do later on, just add that to your list.
I think there are lots of us keeping us open.
It is. It really is.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great. So now we'll be going back to another sorority. We have Deborah Pickens from Delta Sigma Theta, who's going to talk to us about engagement and leadership through her sorority.
I am Deborah Pickens. I serve as president of the Columbus Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta, and it is my pleasure to be here with you today just to share a little bit about what we're doing as members and active members in this community. My presentation, because of the time constraints, will focus on two of our programs, Delta Academy and Delta Gyms. But we also offer an Alexis Candidate Conference for future doctors and dentists, and the Shirley Chisholm Girls in Government Conference that focuses on careers in the military, law enforcement. So both of those programs are every other year, and we focus on introducing the young ladies to careers in either medicine or in law enforcement. So first, a little bit about the Columbus chapter. We were chartered in 1934, so we've been in the community quite some time. We're a 501c7 not-for-profit corporation, and we're affiliated, as some of you may know, with a national organization, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. So at times we are governed by what the national organization requires of us to do. We're one of over 1,000 chapters across the world. We're probably in the top 60 of those chapters in size. So we have 270 plus financial members in our chapter, and we're still growing. We operate September through June, and I think sometimes that may be a hindrance and a challenge to us as we're running our programs for young ladies because we say dark. We go dark in July and August, and that is a national policy. We serve the community under the 5-point programmatic thrust that you see on the screen. Economic development is all around financial literacy and awareness and financial independence. Educational development is where we house our youth programs, our Project Delta scholarships, and our Arts and Letters Commission. International awareness and involvement, we deal with global issues that impact people of color. Physical and mental health, we're focused on awareness and knowledge around illnesses, health illnesses that disproportionately impact the African American community. And then last but not least is political awareness and involvement. That's our piece around social action and advocating for policies that really impact our community. Okay, great, thank you. 2 programs, Delta Academy is 11 to 14. And it addresses academic failure, low self-esteem in young females. And we know that some of the characteristics that we want to see in our young ladies, those leadership traits, they have to start early. So that's what that program is focused on, mainly middle school. We want to supplement the participants' knowledge around the areas of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And then we provide opportunities for service, because part of what we want to share with the young ladies is why we are active in the community and the benefit of giving back. Delta Gyms are at risk. They're mainly our high school students, 14 to 18. We talk about college, how to prepare themselves for college, how to prepare themselves for a leader. What does leadership look like? How can we bring out the best in them to help them with their future careers? Our programming is aligned to the national curriculum, so I thought I would just share with you a little bit of how that is structured. Again, we want to build leadership skills around voice, giving the young ladies a voice, the ability to be assertive. During the middle school age, they're often wondering who they are and how they fit in their families and in their communities, in their school. So we want to really give them a method of how to voice their feelings. We deal with self-confidence, organization and decision-making, as well as community activism. So the curriculum for Delta Academy is structured in 3 areas: preparing me, developing me, knowing me. And then the last piece is leadership development through service advocacy. Preparing me teaches college. As I said earlier, we're trying to get them career ready, college ready. We talk about the healthy issues for them, either whether it's nutrition or sexual education, breast cancer awareness, fitness, how they view their bodies, and so that they can respect their bodies and not be intimidated by just the way we are built and the way we come into the world. Knowing me provides opportunity for self-reflection. How do I feel about myself? Why do I feel this way? And what can I do to have a better opinion of myself? How do I build my self-esteem? Delta Gyms, and we expect that the Delta Academy young ladies transition into Delta Gyms. It is a metric that we are just starting to track this year, but historically that's what happens. The girls transition in the gyms, but I'm unable to give you a specific data point for that. The Delta Gyms, growing and empowering myself successfully, is what the gym stands for. So the curriculum is around growing myself. Again, we're talking academics, learning your personal study habits, how you can be better at that. Empowering myself, assisting in proper goal setting. How do you set goals, whether it's for college, your grades, or nutrition? Empowering myself improves awareness on how nutrition impacts your academic performance. So if you're not eating well, if you're not eating healthy, then you may or may not perform well in school. So the curriculum that we execute locally, and I'll just give you a few of these, and if you need any additional information, you're free to reach out to me. We have a formal opening that includes our parents with each of these programs. We often have speakers that come in and address the parents and the children, but it sets the expectation of the programs, because we do run September through June, third Saturday of every month. So there's an expectation from the young ladies that they're in attendance, because the program then would build upon itself. For Delta Academy, this year they had an Amaze Escape field trip to help them with decision making. We always go to COSI every year to talk about science, introduce them to science and coding. We do Founders Day for both our young ladies and our men. If you talk about leadership traits, there's nothing more important than showing the young ladies a room full of Black college-educated women. And usually at our Founders Day, there's 500 or 600 of us. We're going on an Underground Railroad trip in April, really to bring cultural awareness and history. We should be proud of who we are and our background, and so that's what we want to share with the young ladies. We do self-image workshops, they do hip-hop fitness. All of this is really to build those leadership characteristics that we talked about earlier. Our curriculum is focused on leadership development. And I do want to say, before I forget, I like to share, we did win an award at the regional level for our educational and development programs around exemplary programming. And so we placed second out of over 100 chapters because of the structure and the success of our program. Some metrics that you asked for, number of participants. In Delta Academy last year, we had 21, and when I say year, I mean sorority year, September through June. This year, we have 29. For Delta Gyms, 61, and we grew to 82. And growing a program is a challenge because we like to accept all applications that apply, but then we are constrained because we have to have a certain number of volunteers to manage the program. Average age for Delta Gyms is 12 for both years. That breakdown in age you'll see on the slide, and for Delta Gyms is 15. Percent within Columbus, 45.9% last year of Delta Academy was in Columbus. Last year we did a specific outreach because we wanted to include more young ladies from Columbus and Franklin County. And so Columbus now is at 62% for Delta Academy. For Delta Gyms, 53.3% last year, and then 54.9% this year. And you can see the grades there. Academy is basically middle school, Gyms is high school. But to give you a couple other municipalities of young ladies that are in the program where they live, Westerville, Gahanna, we have a young lady coming all the way from Powell, Ohio, which is my neck of the woods. Reynoldsburg, Canal Winchester, Groveport, Hilliard, Lewis Center, New Albany, Pickerington. So we do have them from all over in addition to Columbus. And this data that I share with you is from our application that we do at the beginning of each year, asking the young ladies and their parents to complete the application. And many of you may know Patricia Hicks. She is a member of our sorority, and she helped develop our application. Some 2017-18 outcomes. One of the things we measure is participation rate, because if our programs aren't reaching the young ladies, then they won't come. So that's just a metric for us to determine whether we're engaging, whether we're successful, whether the program is meeting the needs of the young ladies. And we do survey after every workshop. So we had 69% attendance at the monthly programming. 100% of our graduating seniors were accepted to college, and we had a college recognition day as part of our closing ceremony. We award over $20,000 annually in scholarship, and so as many of the participants that are eligible can apply, and they get, preferential treatment. We increased our GEMS program from the year before from 50 to 61 and now 82. And so we were able to change a little bit of the structure of the GEMS program so that we can have smaller family groups. So we have groups of 10 that are led by 2 of our members in the sorority. Thanks to Councilwoman Priscilla Tyson, we were recognized for the GEMS etiquette program, and that is coming up really at the end of this month, where they bring all of the MPHC youth organizations together. It has a basic name, GEMS Etiquette Brunch, but it covers, this year they're covering interviewing skills, they're covering dress for interviews. Last year they covered etiquette in dining and what impact that has on your ability to get a job or keep a job or make an impression on anyone. And then we received recognition at a city council meeting at the Columbus School Board for our youth programming. Okay, challenges, and I'm sure these are shared by every mentoring group and organization that you have coming before you, but right to left, funding is always the top concern, because we are running these programs and we try not to charge any of the participants. At most, they might pay for their t-shirt. Oh, I'm sorry, you have a question? Oh, okay. And so that's a big one. Transportation for the middle school. For the most part, our kids' parents, they're working, and so it's hard for them to get to the programming every month, and we have programming at Mifflin Middle School. For the high school young ladies, a lot of them are busy, and so sometimes they come, they miss a month, they come the next month, but we keep everyone in the program until the end of the year. And then also the process timing, as I said earlier, we're under national guidelines, so we have a pretty intensive risk management process that we have to adhere to. All of our volunteers are background checked, screened by a third party, and so if we wanted to do an activity next week, we'd have to make sure everyone that was volunteering had gone through the background checks, and that's members of our sorority as well as our community volunteers, and then we operate on a 1-to-5 ratio. And so that's an internal Delta activity that we have to ensure that we adhere to. But those are really our challenges. Opportunities. We really would like to develop a formalized evaluation process. Patricia Hicks from Outcomes Management has been willing to do some preliminary work for us to help us develop and add more structure to the program, but a formalized process costs money, which we don't have a lot of. We would like multi-year funding source, because if we're able to fund for multi-years at a time, then we can plan for multiple years at a time. Just like strategic planning activity, you don't do it for 1 year, you do it for 3 or 5. And really that's what we need within our programs. And since we're operating with 111 young ladies, on a Saturday, electronic check-in would be beneficial to us. The current quality of life, again, this is from our applications. 111 total young ladies in the program. 86.5% of their parents are employed full-time, but there's a spread in their annual income. 37.8% are below the $50,000 a year, and most of our families have an average family size of 4. So you can see that on the left. And then the educational level ranges from 8th grade or less all the way up to a doctoral degree. But you can see most of our parents are in associate or some college. So the challenge that impacts their ability, funding ability, if they just have an associate's degree and they're working with a family size of 4. My last slide, what can the commission do for us? Help address our challenges and opportunities. If we want to have more detailed conversation, I can bring in my co-chairs of both these committees for us to sit down and really plan how we, together, how we impact the community. Job fairs for the parents are always beneficial. We do have some of the parents that are unemployed, and so we're talking about having a job fair during the same time that the young ladies are in programming. And then we're also attempting to connect the gyms to summer employment. If we want to impact their quality of life, let's try to find them employment when we can. That is my last slide. I hope I'm in your time frame. But we've had a sustainable program here locally since 2013 with continual growth. And our curriculum is really developed by the Delta Research Educational Foundation out of Washington, D.C. So there's a lot of history behind the curriculum that we're charged with executing. Any questions for me? Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to open up to the commissioners. Are there any questions?
Comment. After listening to our sergeant's presentation in regards to focusing on the Explorers program and safety, and then hearing one of your values is to get young people involved in safety careers. Maybe there's an opportunity to do some partnerships to try to impact more girls to be able to, go to college, go to, and think about a career in the safety forces.
Yes, I wrote that down.
Reimbursement once they're on the department, and that's all the way up to a PhD. There's just time limits that they have to stay on the department after they receive the degree. So that is an opportunity, if college isn't necessarily where they're going, the path that they're going right out of high school. So just
okay, great. Thank
just
you.
To be clear, is that full tuition reimbursement?
full tuition reimbursement,
Wow,
yes, sir.
that's
And we actually just
fantastic.
partnered with Franklin University too, and they're offering deferment of tuition. So once you get your grades, then the city just pays. Yeah, it's awesome.
Excellent, thank you.
Well, if there are no other questions, thank you again for your presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I apologize.
No problem. And I have more of a statement, and I just want to say, first of all, from all of the presenters, from the sororities, from the police department, it really demonstrates that we are willing to get proximate to our young ladies so that we can build them up, so that the social perceptions and stereotypes, we can show them. I believe you talked about a banquet where there were 600 women with degrees, and that is what we have to put in front of our young ladies as often as possible. And we have to figure out what that frequency is so that they can start to believe in themselves. And I'm sitting here, I'm taking notes. I want to say thank you all on behalf of every one of our young ladies in Columbus City Schools. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
So as I'm listening, one of the little notes that I wrote down that I will definitely bring up again is some kind of overall evaluation of effectiveness of community-based girl-serving agencies. Just kind of need to take a more global look at who's doing what, how effective, and where the gaps are. So I really appreciate that. I'd like to introduce to you a young sister who has made a commitment to herself and to her community to do something about brown girls on the East Side. And I was really happy that Dr. Lyons was able to see if Jamie Blount was available to give us an idea about the kind of really incredible girl work that she is doing on the east side of Columbus. So happy to have her. So she's going to show a short video of her work before she gives her presentation.
Hello, my name is Jamie Blount. I am the founder and visionary of Brown Girls Mentoring Program, and we meet every second and fourth Saturday of the month at Beatty Recreation Center. The reason why it's so important for this program to have young ladies of color have a safe space and where they can be them, and we're also depositing seeds of growth, change, love, self-love, and to necessarily work hand in hand with them on growing and becoming a better version of themselves. That's what we're about.
Hi, my name is Tia Edwards, and I am a mentor with the Brown Girls Mentoring Program. The reason why you need to have your girls here is because brown girls need to be celebrated. They need to know it's okay to be who you are and be authentically happy about who you are. I would encourage everyone to bring their brown girl out to Beatty Recreation Center so they can learn to love themselves and take pride in who they are.
Just come out and join us, Beatty Recreation Center, every second and fourth Saturday from 12 to 2 p.m. And we don't just, I guess, teach, we change lives. That's what we're about. Thank you. Good evening, Commission. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Jamie Blount, and I am the founder and visionary, of Brown Girls Mentoring Program. Just a little bit about me and the community that we serve. I grew up in Poindexter, Trevitt Heights area, and that is my ultimate stomping ground. I walked into the center about 3 years ago and spoke with Ms. April Tisby, who was at the time the center assistant director, and just said I wanted to help little girls who look like me, help little girls who just want to be a better version of themselves. I really had no plan so to speak. I just knew that that center was a pillar for me when I was their age, from free lunch to some of the center directors who I still remember as an adult. And she said, well, let's try it. Let's try a pilot location. This could be our pilot location for the fall. So we came in and we started with 12 young ladies. And I showed up even when they didn't show up consistently. But it kept going. They seen that I was consistent, so they became consistent. So from 2016, September, because we operate during the school year, we started in September, we ended in May, we came back for our open house in 2017, and we enrolled at application process 50 girls. We just, like I said, it really just took a life of self. We just wanted them to understand that you can love yourself, empower yourself, and serve your community, and love the skin that you're in. From there, numbers dwindled because of hype, so we served about 25 consistent girls from 2017 to 2018. From 2018 to 2019, we increased to, we serve now about 30 to 45 girls out of Beatty Recreation Center. We meet every second, third, and fourth Saturday of the month from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. We serve girls ages 5 to 17. And again, the goal is to become a better version of yourself. Excuse me, I'm pulling up notes. Sorry, because I have stuff on my phone and the screen.
It's okay.
So for us, a typical Saturday, this is one of my rambunctious babies. For us, a typical Saturday runs again from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. We normally come into session, all mentors or team leads, we call them BGLs, Big Brown Girls, and they're the leads, or Brown Girl leads. And they check in with the girls to see how they're doing, how their week was. Then we have 15 minutes of journaling, because what we come to find is that a lot of girls put a lot on that paper in 15 minutes. We give them topics that vary from, what do you want to work on this week? What is a personal goal of yours this week? What do you plan on doing to serve somebody else next week? Whatever that is, that 15 minutes in that paper requires a lot. So we spend 15 minutes journaling. Then after that, we break out into our session. And the leads normally break down from K to 5, 6 to 8, and high school. And the beautiful part about the programming that we've established is that most girls in high school, even though they're there to be served and get something, they also lead with the babies because they feel comfortable and they're more relatable. So we normally break out into session and we cover our topic, whether that's generosity. Now we're in the month of diligence and mental health. So we cover these topics with them. But like I said, for the whole month, that's normally our theme, and we bring in guest speakers. We do activities that are geared towards the lesson for that month. From there, that's about 45 minutes to an hour. We go into snack and reflection. So my goal is, I'm a person that you can sit somewhere, but what did you take away with that? What are you going to apply from that, from this week, what you learned? So we normally share, reflect, and how to apply what we learned. And we serve snack, and we close with our Brown Girl Pledge, which I'm going to share with you guys. I am a brown girl. Starting today, I will respect myself and others. Sorry, y'all. I will respect myself and others. I will be a leader and not a follower. I will carry myself with class.
I have my glasses on. Let me see if I can read.
Okay, sorry.
I'm standing proxy here. All right. I am a brown girl. Starting today, I will respect myself and others. I will be a leader and not a follower. I will carry myself with class and dignity. I will strive for excellence in everything I do. I will encourage and empower others around me.
I am a brown girl. I am bold. I am confident. I am fearless. I am excellence. I am beautiful. I am love. I am a brown girl.
Thank you so much. So the the commission question is, what is the quality of life for the Black girl in our program? They vary from girl to girl. We have girls that come from two-parent homes that live in suburban areas and attend school in suburban districts, and that are afforded opportunities to develop in multiple ways. The girls have some idea of who they are and where they're going and what they desire to become out of these households. Some of the girls are excelling academically and some girls are a little bit behind. And for the other girls who are more in single parent homes whereas they're just mom and dad, we typically see that there's a little bit more work to do, if you will. Some of them are excelling academically and some are behind. Some of the challenges that they face, excuse me. I can't find that slide, Ms. Becky. Okay, some of the challenges that they face, we tend to find out of the single parent home or lack of resources, from diet to being exposed to what's available in their neighborhoods. A lot of people, we've been in that community since 2016, they don't even know about us. The only presence that we have is really social media, and we just launched our website this year. A lot of the mothers and fathers that we serve can't afford the cost, and we only implemented a material cost this year. We've been operating pretty much out of our pocket and in-kind donations. People following us on social media and just wanting to help. This year, like I said, we did a materials fee of $30, and out of the 45 girls that we serve, we probably covered the majority of the cost for those girls. There was just a lot of parents who I told just to keep coming. We'll make it happen. And we made it happen for their supplies, their snacks, because that $30 covered their t-shirt, their snack fee, and their materials fee. And materials fee is just for when we do vision boards, the supplies, crayons, pencils, and all that other good stuff. What we tend to find as well in the community that we serve, which is the Old Town East community, by the way. I'm not sure if I said that. That's between Mount Vernon, the Lincoln District, and that good area. We have girls who come from New Albany, who come from Worthington, who come from Gahanna, but the hardest hit that are actually in walking distance of Beatty Recreation Center, those are the ones that we see the lack of resources and able to pay for the program. And they really don't have any knowledge outside of that east side of town. And I speak highly to that because I was a prodigy of that. So I know that sometimes I didn't become aware of outside of my community until I was 16. So the goal is for us to provide more funding for the community programs like Brown Girls. We're out of, again, Beatty Recreation Center. Actually, this Saturday, if the snowstorm doesn't hit us too bad, we're supposed to launch our creative arts department, which I think is really cool because at Museum Day Live, we were invited to participate in that, and so many girls had a voice as to, Miss Jamie, I didn't know I could do this, or Miss Jamie, I didn't think about this. So it just opened them up, and some for a lot of the mothers and daughters that we serve, and we have some single fathers too, they had never been to the museum except for that day. They never have been, and it's right in their backyard. Literally, they stay on the other side of Columbus State. So it was so awesome that people seen us on Facebook and just invited us and said, just come out and tell your girls and your parents to come out. So for me, it's one of those things that I think that we just need more awareness of what tools that they have in the community. If there's any kind of way from the commission, utilizing the other resources as churches, nonprofits, somewhere to put flyers and things like that, because I know my mom didn't know a lot about the community happenings because she was always at work and she was a single mom. And a lot of the things that happens is that parents drop kids off at the center, but they're not aware of what the center is doing for the community. How to improve the quality of life, I think I kind of answered that. I'm sorry, y'all. This is my first time in this setting. I'm blessed. I can't stress enough, it takes a village. It takes a village. Every person sitting here wants better for our girls. Being a 16-year-old mother, coming from the east side of town, most people said I was going to do the same thing over and over and over again, that I was going to be on welfare, I wasn't going to break the cycle, but God had a different plan. And I didn't have my next child until 8 years later, married. I'm living what most people would consider the dream, but I feel like I can be doing more. But it's still one of those things that if I can do it, it was because there was other women who poured into me. From my middle school at Starling, Miss Harris, my gym teacher, from the community center that I grew up in, and said, don't give up. Don't give up. And we're all a part of the same team trying to tell these girls not to give up and to realize how beautiful they are, because I didn't know that those same seeds that Miss Harris was planting in the 8th grade would manifest now. I go to Columbus City Schools, the building right downtown across from the Boys and Girls Club where I used to go, and I see some of the receptionists who gave me gems when I was in middle school. Miss Rodna Brown is one of them. She said, I knew you was going to do something good. I just knew it. Even my home life wasn't the best. But she was like, you came to school, you did what you were supposed to do, but it was those women that made a difference, and that's what me and my team do. It's not just me. We have a branch in Tampa, and we have the women here in Columbus. We have a strong team of 10 women. They come from all different backgrounds. Some are single, some are married, some are CEOs, some are just donating time. I mean, some have nonprofits. They are all different kind of women. But the beautiful part it is that they're all gravitated towards each girl or each cell that God has given us. So there's somebody strategically designed out of our team that is connected to one of those girls. Oh, after school programs, I'm sorry, thank you, Ms. Pat. Another thing that I think would really help is after school programs. We noticed that on Saturdays, girls want to bring homework. So we're trying to improve the internal character. Not that we don't care about school, but it's hard. It's hard to do homework and help you become the better version of yourself as well. So the goal is now to acquire some time to figure out how to do after-school programming and possibly summer reading, because the community we serve, we have a lot of young ladies who are low on their reading level, very behind. In the Trevitt Heights Elementary, Champion Middle School, even East High School, some of these girls are not equipped to pass this test that requires them to graduate, and their reading and comprehension level is so low, but they've been passed along and passed along and passed along until they say that you can't walk because you can't pass this test. And it's really real. Even from the 3rd grade guarantee, we've had 2 babies in our program over the last 2 years that cannot get past the 3rd grade test. And moms are getting discouraged because they're like, what can I do? I have to work. I can't be here for tutoring. I can't drop them off here. So it's a lot that goes into after school tutoring and maybe even summer reading programs. Instead of them being at the pool and at the park, yes, that's fun. But if we had that safe space for them to come into at the center or at the centers in that area to just read. We have so many, the Martin Luther King Library is right by East High School, but I have so many girls who tell me that they can't get there. They can't get there. So if we had somebody who was willing to put the books in the recreation center, because the recreation center sometimes fills in for a babysitter, if we had those resources there for snack and books and stuff like that, that would make the world a difference. In a community garden. I love the idea of a community garden. I feel like when we do our snack and tailor make our snack for the girls after session, we normally always try to make sure they have fruit, milk, and all that good stuff because families make meals stretch. I have a big family. I have 4 children of my own, but it's a blessing that I'm able to provide fruit and nourishment and stuff for them because they wouldn't get it if we were in an underprivileged situation like I grew up in. So to me, those things are important to have that access because when you eat better, you feel better. How many can attest to that? Absolutely. When you eat better, you feel better. Your brain feels better. It's just like when you go work out, you want a green smoothie and salads all day. So does anybody have any questions?
Do we have any questions from any of the commissioners or comments?
Sorry, I just have a statement. So thank you. I love your passion. That was beautiful. And I need a copy of that so that I can give it to my daughter because I think she struggles sometimes. So thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Any other comments, questions?
I can give you my card.
So you did bring a card?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mhm.
I'll need a card.
Okay. Okay. Yes, ma'am.
You just might as well pass them all around the table. But before you sit down, I just want to make one comment. All the commissioners, we're giving our time to support this good work, and I know sometimes it's a struggle because we hear a lot of really tough data and challenging situations, and we have great speakers. They come in professional backgrounds, all kinds of good stuff, and I know myself and Councilwoman Tyson always talk about, man, how are we going to make it to the next one? Because it's just a lot of heavy stuff. But many of us around the table, we have institutions. Myself, I have COSI, we have a state here, we have the police department. We have these big systems behind a lot of us. And I just really want to commend you as an individual to have the courage to start this on your own and build this commitment. So thank you very much. This was very compelling for me. Okay, great. And I think our last presenter, we have a response from a Black girl. I believe we have Peyton Williams here.
Peyton is here.
All right. Very yes.
Good.
Up to the podium, Peyton.
Pat, you want to mention this?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Peyton Williams. I'm pretty sure I'm the youngest one on the commission. I'm 19 years old. I graduated from the Academy for Urban Scholars in 2017. I attended East for 3 years before that. I lived in the area of Trevitt and Champion and all of that also. These past few months, we talked a lot about the health of Black girls, their physical health, whether it be poverty, domestic violence, abuse, neglect. We talked a lot about their sexual health, how they face sexual violence, the poor and miseducation of sex ed. We've also talked about how to move from the mindset of your life is over once you have a child and how to branch out to make those resources more accessible for single mothers. We talked about the mental health of Black girls. We talked about how if you have an ACE score of 6 or higher, that automatically takes 20 years off of your life, and how most girls walk around with about a 6 or higher, most Black girls in Columbus. We talked about breaking the stigma of mental health, of receiving mental health services. We talked about the adultification of Black girls, not seeing Black girls as the children that they are and leaving them astray to fend for themselves. We've talked about what's wrong. We talked about changing the mindset of what's wrong with you to what happened to you and how can I help you. We've talked about decreasing the gap of access to care, and we've also talked about being misdiagnosed with mental illness. For the education and discipline of Black girls, we talked about Black girls missing out on sex ed, equipping teachers with trauma-informed tools, crazy home life, and unconventional ways of learning and understanding. We talked about the focus on quality of data rather than the quantity. We've talked about offering holistic support to girls and to open career pathways. For the discipline, we've talked about girls being told from an early age to chill out. They're not allowed to be bold. They're not allowed to use their voice. They're not allowed to be seen and not just heard. We've talked about how girls have been criminalized for who they are instead of what they did, and the disproportionate rates of suspensions, expulsions, and arrests. We asked the girls themselves at our listening sessions, what challenges do they face? And they told us challenges of self-confidence, taking on parental roles, being strong for others, not being okay, equaling weakness, underestimating themselves and others, personal loss, not having a father or not like having a mother, stress, European beauty standards, anger stereotype, trust issues, self-identity issues, LGBTQ+ issues, casual racism, learning what love is, and self-love. Our girls also told us that they want to make their voices heard. They want mentoring programs and mentors who look like them, who they can look up to. They also want the community to celebrate their accomplishments. They want more community outreach, Black-based curriculums, after-school programs, sexual abuse groups, help single moms finish schools. They need self-worth workshops, make college visits cheaper, healthier eating options, and financial literacy classes. We asked our Black girls what they wanted at our listening sessions, and that's what they told us. Those are actually my exact notes from that. As a Black girl standing in front of you all, I would like to say that this commission and being able to serve on this commission has been the greatest accomplishment thus far of my life. Growing up, being born and raised in Columbus, I've seen the ugly side of the justice system, the school education system. So growing up, not being that grown, of course, but being older and being able to serve on a board where we're actually doing something rather than just talking about it has been great. I'm trying to think, make sure that was all. We've learned so far through the different presentations that there are so many different resources out here for Black girls. We just need to bridge the gap to make it more accessible and more affordable so all Black girls can be put at promise and have a better quality of life rather than what they're living currently. Thank you.
Great job, kind of helping pull it all together for us so we get a good idea of what we've been working on, really and truly. So Peyton sent me her notes last night. I was like, oh my God, this is so good. Who knew you were taking all those notes, right? So I also want to say that Peyton has been selected by the YW to be one of a very few group of women who will be in their 2019 Social Change Leadership Development Program. I'm happy.
Your work's not done.
Oh, that's right. My work's not done. Have you all heard of Pink? Aaron Pink. So I think you're going to be nicely surprised at the work of what that Aaron Pink does. She wasn't able to be with us today. She came, I was about to say, she came earlier, but she wasn't able to stay with us. But we do have a PowerPoint presentation packet, but we won't see it. Oh, okay. All right. So anyway, make sure that you take a look at that. She is well branded. Right, give the girl the mic. Okay. All right, so Councilmember Tyson would like for me to, one of Aaron Pink's brand events is called Give That Girl the Mic. It's a all-girl talent showcase. It's their annual signature, fun-filled, packed, all-girl talent showcase at the historic Lincoln Theater. It's their signature event. Do you have a date?
February 2nd.
February 2nd.
Yes. Second.
Second? So it's a Saturday, that first Saturday of the month.
I just want to add something about this program. They just got funded through the Women's Fund. It's a pretty amazing program, and I'll add with our commissioner. She was here, that's why I took her around for everyone to be able to see, to meet her. Pink, if you look at she's focused on girls who are 12 years old. They're in the 7th grade. Pink means I'm a girl with purpose. I stand for values and morals. I choose to get up and dress up, show up, and never give up. And knowledge is the power in my actions. She is serving girls at Clemen Preparatory School for Girls, Sherwood Middle School, and A+ Learning Academy. She has a program in this called the Lunchbox Girl Talk School Program with 90 girls. She's gold girl for 80 young people. Give the Girl the Mic. 87 girls will be presenting on February the 2nd. And so I would ask that you review this document. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here, but it's pretty, it's outstanding. So another leadership program for those girls who are in middle school.
Commissioners, do you have any comments, any thoughts, anything we need? Yes.
Event on February 2nd.
Oh, wow, early. Let's look it up.
We will get that information out, 'cause I don't think it says on the flyer.
It doesn't.
Let me see.
The website is there, telephone number is there.
Yep, she's got a receipt.
Any other questions, comments, thoughts about this evening? Yes, yeah, please, Mary.
Honestly, as we've had a chance to learn more about the issues and the challenges and the opportunities, there are some really consistent messages here with regard to fundamentals in the area of transportation and funding and lack of awareness and expected outcomes that are consistent. So it's beginning to really tell a story in terms of the opportunity there is for us to be helpful in impacting the quality of Black girls' lives. So,
absolutely.
So thanks for working to organize it and the insight that you brought. It's well done.
6 o'clock.
Okay, it's 6 o'clock.
Doors open at 6.
Right, the event starts doors open at 6, show starts at 6:30.
You have to buy tickets.
At Lincoln, yes. Right, Ticketmaster.
Yep.
Anything else? So, as Frederick said at the beginning of our meeting, we will be moving into quarterly meetings. However, we will be having subcommittee meetings because one of the things that Frederick and I talked about a couple weeks ago is that we know you want to work. We know that you just did not want to show up every month and hear a lot of information and not have an opportunity to do something about it. Isn't that right? Okay, that's exactly right. So when we meet March 21st, be prepared to get your assignments because we will start to then look at data, but also look at what we've been hearing, start to prioritize what we think we need to really start to drill down on, so that when we are ready, we will create an action plan that makes sense. Okay? All right. So remember that you said tonight you are willing to work. Just going to remind you. Okay. And for those commissioners that aren't here, you happen to see them, just say, work is coming. All right, thank you very much.